You ever watch somebody's whole world collapse in real time, right in front of you? Because that's what I saw that August morning, sitting on my porch, sweet tea in hand, sun barely burning off the last of the dew, when Sheriff Reyes pulled up to Betty Jones' homemade barricade. Now, I'm not the type to gloat, but sometimes karma pulls up in a county cruiser, and I'll be honest, it's hard not to smile just a little. Let me back up a second. For 3 months, Betty Jones had been running our quiet neighborhood like it was her own personal fiefdom. You think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. She wielded her HOA presidency like a sword, and if you so much as breathed wrong, she'd threaten you with a fine or worse. You know the type. Inherited the biggest house at the end of the lane, thinks her family tree comes with a throne. Everybody just kept their heads down until she overplayed her hand, and I had a front row seat for the whole spectacular implosion. So picture this. Sheriff Reyes steps out of his cruiser, uniform crisp, not a bead of sweat on him, even though it's pushing 90. Betty's standing there with her arms crossed, chin up, guarding her barricade like the Queen of England, smirk glued to her face. "Ma'am, you need to remove this barricade immediately," Reyes says, cool as you please. And Betty, dripping with all that small-town arrogance, just laughs. "I'm the HOA president, Sheriff. This closure was approved by our board. You have no jurisdiction over private community matters." That's when Reyes, bless him, pulls out this folded document from his pocket, like it's the ace of spades. "Actually, ma'am, according to the county records, this is a public easement. Been county property since '87. You're in violation of municipal codes." The color drained from Betty's face so fast, I almost felt bad. Almost. See, that was my doing. I'd handed Reyes those records myself. But let me tell you how we got here, because this wasn't just about a blocked road. It was about what happens when someone mistakes a tiny bit of power for a license to bully, and how sometimes the best way to deal with folks like that is to let them dig their own hole, then just hand them a shovel. So yeah, I'm Carl Kim. I'm a municipal planning consultant. Sounds dull, but means I read zoning laws for breakfast and know my way around a county courthouse. I moved to Willowbrook Estates 6 months ago, hoping for a quiet life, maybe grow some tomatoes. For 2 weeks, I thought I'd found it. Tree-lined streets, happy mailboxes, everyone waving hello. Then Betty found me. It was a Tuesday. I'm checking my mailbox when she pops up, clipboard in hand, powder blue tracksuit, expensive sunglasses, like she'd been lying in wait. "You must be the new resident in 247, she says, no smile. "We need to discuss your landscaping." I look at my yard. Grass is maybe a hair too long, but nothing scandalous. She points at my old oak and says, "That tree's blocking Mrs. Patterson's view. Needs to go." I told her I'd mow the lawn this weekend, but asked for the specific rule about tree heights. She grinned, teeth and all, and said, "I am the rule, Mr. Kim. I've been managing this community for 8 years. That tree is a problem. Now, I'm not easily rattled. I like to see that in writing," I said. Suddenly, her voice goes cold as iced coffee. New residents who make demands rarely find themselves welcome here. She turned and left me standing there, me and my supposedly criminal oak tree. So what did I do? Sure, I cut the grass, but I also emailed the HOA for the governing documents. What I found was wild. Every amendment over the past 8 years had Betty's fingerprints on it, all shifting more power to the board, meaning to Betty. But here's the kicker. For tree removal, the rules demanded a complaint, an inspection, and a board vote. Betty skipped all that. I sent a polite email asking for the arborist's report and the vote minutes. She shot back. "Compliance is expected by Friday. Fines will be assessed. No report, no minutes, just threats." That's when I realized Betty wasn't just bossy. She was breaking her own rules, maybe even breaking the law. So I started talking to neighbors. Turns out the pattern was the same. Intimidation, fake rules, made-up fines. Mrs. Patterson never even complained about my tree. She liked the shade. The Hernandez family got fined for parking their own truck in their own driveway, even though nothing in the rules said they couldn't. Jonathan White tried to put up solar panels. Betty said no, ruins the aesthetic, but the law says otherwise. See, Betty built her power on the idea that nobody'd ever bother to check. But I'm not most folks. And the more I dug, the uglier it got. Fake fines, unapproved spending, no records. The final straw? I was reviewing a plat map for work and saw that our main road, Maple Lane, was a public easement. Not private at all. Betty had been blocking it, charging us for access cards, holding the whole neighborhood hostage. I hit the county clerk's office the next morning and found exactly what I'd hoped for. Not only was Maple Lane public, but the county had been trying to do maintenance for months. Betty refused them access, claimed private property, intercepted their letters, you name it. The county was about to sue just to access their own road. That's when I made my move, called Public Works, called the sheriff, built a case. You should have heard the Public Works supervisor. We've been trying to resurface that road for 6 months, but every time, this woman shows up screaming about private property. When I told him Betty was blocking roads as revenge against residents, he nearly choked. Emergency services had even complained. Betty wasn't just a nuisance. She was endangering lives. Sheriff Reyes, by the book as ever, told me, if what you're saying is true, she's in violation of state statutes, blocking easements, interfering with operations, endangering public safety. Send everything you have. Oh, I did. I spent a week documenting every violation, every fake fine, every forged document. Neighbors started coming out of the woodwork, stories in hand. The moment came sooner than I thought. One morning, Betty's out there in the middle of Maple Lane, physically blocking a county work truck, yelling, waving her arms, a crowd gathering. I started recording, called Reyes. County workers showed up with backup. Betty doubled down, called them trespassers, screamed about private property. Laura Green, the public works supervisor, steps out, documents in hand, tells Betty she's breaking the law. Betty's shouting, threatening to call everyone from the mayor to the attorney general. I swear, if she'd had a scepter, she'd have waved it. Then Sheriff Reyes pulls up. Betty's eyes light up. She thinks backup's arrived. Sheriff, these people are trespassing. I demand you remove them. Reyes reviews the documents, calm as ever. Ma'am, this is a public easement. Step aside, so they can do their jobs. Betty won't budge. She crosses her arms, plants her feet. You'll have to arrest me. The sheriff blinks, once, twice, then goes official. Ma'am, are you refusing a lawful order? Betty's ego won't let her back down, even as the whole neighborhood records her meltdown. Sheriff cuffs her right there. She shrieks, sputters, pleads, I'm the HOA president. I know the mayor, but it's no use. Betty, who spent months threatening us with lawyers, is suddenly the one begging for legal help. As she's led to the cruiser, you can see the shock finally hit. After Betty's arrest, the truth poured out. Neighbors lined up to give statements. Turned out, Betty had been forging board minutes, intercepting mail from the county and IRS, charging double for services, and paying herself consulting fees. Laura Hernandez, our neighborhood paralegal, had a folder thicker than a phone book. Fake meetings, fake votes, financial sleight of hand. Sheriff Reyes said, we might be looking at federal charges here. Mail fraud, document forgery, embezzlement. The FBI got involved. No joke. The fallout? The county resurfaced Maple Lane, put up permanent signs, and made sure everyone knew their rights. Betty's kingdom was gone overnight. The HOA board dissolved, neighbors held real elections. Laura Hernandez as interim president, Jonathan White as VP, Mrs. Patterson as secretary. For the first time in years, folks talked in the street without looking over their shoulders. 3 days after Betty's arrest, Sheriff Reyes came by my porch again. Carl, just so you know, the county attorney's pursuing felony charges, document fraud, embezzlement, obstruction. Turns out, Betty had run the same scam in 3 other communities, targeting places where folks were too busy or too polite to push back. Her entire business model was built on intimidation and trust until someone decided to check the paperwork. I was interviewed by the FBI. Yeah, me, a guy who just wanted a garden. They wanted to know how I caught her, what warning signs I saw. I told them, lack of transparency, arbitrary rules, no documentation, threats when you ask questions. That's a red flag. And most importantly, Don't try to fight the system from inside if the system is rotten. Go around it, go to the real authorities. A year after Betty's downfall, our neighborhood is, well, it's a real community again. Children play in the street. Folks wave from their porches. Nobody worries about a mysterious fine showing up in their mailbox. The tree Betty wanted gone still stands, growing stronger, shading misses. Patterson's walks. Our HOA publishes every record now, and residents know their rights, because we all lived through what happens when you let someone rule without question. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I just mowed my grass and kept quiet. But I know the answer. Betty would still be out there, inventing rules, taking our money, running her little empire. All it took was one person willing to say, "Show me the paperwork," and a whole system came crashing down. So, let me leave you with this. Trust but verify. Ask for the rules, read the documents. Don't let anyone bully you into silence. If you see something off, speak up and document everything. Because real authority welcomes questions and fraud can't stand the light. Now, here's my question for you. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever dealt with an HOA dictator or someone who let a little power go to their head? Drop your stories and your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you handled it and what you think justice really means in cases like this. And hey, if you made it this far, give this story a like or share it with someone who needs a reminder that no one is above the law. Not even a queen in a powder blue tracksuit.